Hi, it's Steve from PartSelect. Today we're going to show you how to change the tub bearing on your washer. Now you're going to need a few tools, so let me show you what you're going to need. We'll start with a 1/4 inch nut driver and a 5/16 nut driver. You'll need a putty knife, a pair of needle nose pliers, a number 20 Torx bit, 2 flat blade screwdrivers, a 3/8 drive ratchet with a 1/2 inch socket, a 7/16 socket, and a 3/8 socket, a 1/2 inch drive ratchet with a 3/4 inch socket, a large hammer, a 1 11/16 spanner wrench for the tub nut, and if you have one, a torque wrench with a 3/4 inch socket, and lastly, a pair of protective gloves. Let me show you how we do it. Now before we begin this repair, we're going to start with disconnecting the power to the appliance, and then we're going to pull the washer out far enough from the wall, turn off the water supply, and disconnect the hoses. And then our first step will be to remove the control panel. It's held in place with 3/4 inch hex head screws, and they are located just over the top at the back. Then just slide it to the right and lift it up out of the way. Now next, with a pair of needle nose pliers, we can remove the pressure switch hose. Just gently pull that off of the inlet to the pressure switch, and we can just set that control panel loosely in place. Now next, with a stiff putty knife, we're going to go in about 3 inches on either side in the gap between the top and the front panel, and there is a spring clip there that we need to depress and then pull the front panel forward. Do the same on both sides, and just tilt the front panel forward, and we'll lift it off of the base frame. There's a couple of slotted holes in the bottom of that front panel that line up with 2 mounting tabs on the base frame. And we'll set the front panel aside. Now next, with our 1/4 inch nut driver, we'll remove 2 1/4 inch screws that secure the top to the cabinet. And next, we're going to lift that top just a couple of inches, and we'll reach in with a pair of needle nose pliers, and we're going to depress the little locking tab that holds the wire harness connector to the top frame. And then we can lift the lid. We're going to reach in and depress the little tab on the front of the lid switch, and we'll push that up through the opening and just drop it down through. Now we can close the lid, and we'll remove the main top. Now next, we can lay that control panel back down, and with a 1/4 inch nut driver, we're going to remove 2 screws at the very back that hold the back panel in position. Just carefully slide that out, and we can let that hang over the back of the cabinet. And next, we'll remove 2 1/4 inch screws on either end of that control panel mounting bracket that hold that in place, as well as the end caps. Just lift up on the mounting bracket and lift out the end caps. Now you can lift both the control panel and the mounting bracket. Just tilt them out over the side so that they're out of the way. Now next, we're going to remove the screws that secure the tub straps. There are 5/16 hex head. We'll remove all 4 of those, and then lift the tub straps off of the tub cover, and then locate the little mounting tabs for the tub cover and release those. Just press down on the tub cover while pulling out on the tabs, then lift the tub cover off of the tub and set it aside. Next, we're going to remove the agitator. It's held in place just by friction onto a agitator drive block. So we'll get our hands in underneath the base of the agitator, give it a sharp pull upwards. Now if it does not come off that easily, you may need to investigate a agitator remover. There are different types available on the market that will sit in underneath the agitator and either operate by mechanical pressure or with water pressure. Remove the agitator and put it aside. Next, we're going to remove a 7/16 bolt on top of the agitator drive block, and lift the drive block off of the agitator shaft. You'll see that there are tabs on the bottom of that drive block that engage the bottom of the agitator to hold it in place. Then it's splined in the center, which sits over the agitator shaft. We'll set that aside. Next, we'll need the spanner wrench to remove the tub nut. Now it's a left-hand thread, so we're going to turn it clockwise to loosen it. And then we'll lift the tub completely out, and we'll set that aside. And next, we'll remove the split ring that's below the tub. Just using a flat blade screwdriver, we'll just spread that just enough to allow it to slide off, and also the washer that's beneath it. We'll set those aside. We'll disconnect the 2 outside harnesses to this motor. There are little locking tabs on the connectors. Simply depress those and pull the connector off. We'll also disconnect the one to the load shifter. And there's typically one internal one that will remain on that control board. With a pair of needle nose pliers, we're going to depress the little clip that holds that wire harness to the frame. And that will allow us to pull them out of Your socket. Pop that one out. Then there's one tucked in behind the suspension spring on this side. It's a little harder to get at. Once we've removed those, we can also remove the ground screw. And then we'll route that harness away from the suspension rod. Just unwind it and then tuck it out of the way. And next we'll remove that clamp from the tub to pump hose at the base of the tub. Now there's probably going to be some water in that tub, so it helps to put an old towel in there to catch that. And there are some sharp edges, so you should put your protective gloves on. And then loosen that clamp and then pull the hose off of the tub. We'll also need to pull that aerodome tube off of the side of the tub. Just slide that off and then remove the little plastic clip that secures it to the suspension rod. Now to remove the suspension rods, we're going to lift up on the tub, and with the handle of a hammer or a broom handle, we're just going to punch down on that retaining piece that holds it into the base frame. And then just pop it out and allow that motor to sit on the base frame. And then we'll do the same with the two rear suspension rods. Now just let the tub sit on the base frame. We'll put on our protective gloves and we're going to pull that tub out through the front of the cabinet. So we'll tilt it forward and just carefully move the motor towards the back. There should be enough flex in that outer tub to allow us to tuck it in underneath the top frame. We can pull it completely clear of the cabinet. Then we're going to set it completely upside down. And to remove that belt, we're just going to lift up on it while we're rotating the large pulley. Make sure you don't pinch your fingers in between the belt and the pulley. And set it aside. We're going to take the handle of our hammer, just jam that up against the base frame, and then we'll give that a nice sharp wrap. Remove the nut and just bump around the edge of that pulley gently. It is a cast pulley, so we don't want to damage it. And then lift it off. The 3/8 bolts through the top, there's 3 of them, and then there's one that comes up through from the bottom. In that area, we need to remove all 4 of those. Take note that there are some mounting locator pins next to a couple of these holes that will help us realign that properly. Next, we need to remove the 1/2-inch bolts that are attached to the legs of the motor base frame to the outer tub. Just to press that locking tab on that harness clip, let that hang free, and take note on the motor end there should be a label on the front of the tub as well to help us realign that. Now if you have a spare wire tie handy, it's easier just to cut this off, but if you don't have one, you can save this one by gently lifting up the whole assembly, keeping in mind that there is a bit of weight to it because we have a motor on one end of it and a concrete block on the other. But you can probably pull that up enough that you can work it off the end of that hose and then set that whole assembly aside. Then we'll lift the shifter assembly out of the bearing, just pull straight up on it and set that aside. So we'll be replacing both of these bearings at the same time. There's a bearing washer and then the steel bearing that sits above that. So we'll discard the plastic one and we'll remove the number 20 Torx retaining screw, and then with a couple of flat blade screwdrivers we can go in underneath the edge of that ears on that bearing and just pry upward both at the same time. Use caution so that we don't damage the tub. and pull it completely out of the hub in the center of the tub. Now make sure that surface is clean and not scarred up. Then we're going to line up those ears on that bearing with these slots on the outer tub. Make sure it's straight. Then press it into place until it seats completely flush. And if need be, you can just tap that with the handle of your mallet if it doesn't seat all the way by hand. Do it gently because we don't want to damage the tub. Then we'll replace that number 20 Torx screw and our new flat washer bearing. And then we can insert the shifter assembly. Just slide that through both bearings. And then we're ready for the motor frame assembly. Now if you preserved the wire retaining strap, we'll need to work that over the hose as we're setting it in place. And then line up the bolt holes with the brackets on the tub, while rotating the shifter assembly into position. And again, there are 2 tabs that come up through from the bottom. We need to line up. And then we'll put the 4 bolts in through the legs on the motor mount. Just start them all by hand first so that we have everything aligned before we tighten anything. And then tighten the bolts securely. Next, we'll install the bolts for the shifter assembly. And again, we will just start them by hand first. We get everything aligned properly, as well as the 1 remaining bolt comes up through from the opposite end. And then we can tighten those 4 bolts. And then we need to remember to insert that wire harness tab into the base frame and secure that. Next, we'll put the drive pulley on. Now if you have access to a torque wrench, we're going to tighten that bolt to about 35 pounds. Next we'll install the drive belt. So we'll loop it over the motor pulley first, making sure that it sits all the way down into the grooves. And then we're going to start it along one side of the driven pulley until it comes up tight. And then we'll continue to rotate that drive pulley clockwise while making sure that the belt doesn't ride off of the motor pulley. So keep it pinched up against the drive pulley. Now once we have it completely on the driven pulley, we'll want to make sure that we get that belt back down into the grooves and rotate it a few times to center it. And now we're ready to put the assembly back in the washer. So we're going to tilt it over, and while supporting it, we'll set it on its base. And we'll want to make sure that we keep the motor facing forward. Just set it inside the washer. And when reinstalling those rods, we're going to lift the tub up again and then set it down on top of that holder, but we need to make sure that the holder snaps completely into that frame. Just give it a little push to ensure that the little locking tabs engage. And we'll do the same to the rods on the rear. Now with the tub suspended, we'll next connect the hose from the pump to the bottom of the tub. Make sure that we push that hose completely onto the outlet from the tub, and then we can tighten the clamp. So make sure that we have the clamp positioned properly and then tighten it securely. Now our next step will be to reroute that wire harness around the suspension rod, complete turn around it, make sure it's not binding. And then we'll reattach the wire harness retainers to the appropriate brackets, and then reconnect wire harnesses to the motor. Make sure the locking tabs are fully engaged, and then we can put the ground screw back in place. And now we're ready to reinstall the tub. First we'll install the square centered flat washer and then the split ring with the narrow end facing up. Make sure that bottom's out. And then we can put the tub in place. Next, take that cone-shaped tub nut. We'll put the narrow end down. And again, it is a left-hand thread, so we're going to turn it counterclockwise to tighten it. And just wiggle that tub around as you're tightening it by hand to help center it. Then with our spanner wrench, we'll tighten it securely. Next, we'll reinstall the tub cover, making sure that we line up the locating tabs on the tub with the tabs on the tub cover, and the bleach inlet should be in the left front corner. Before we snap it into place, make sure that we don't have any of the tabs inside of the tub. And once it's lined up, just go around and make sure we lock them all in place. Press down firmly on the tub cover, and again verify that they've all snapped into place. Now next, we want to reconnect the air dome hose to the outlet on the side of the tub. Just push that on until it bottoms out, and we'll use that plastic clip to secure it to the front suspension strap. Next, we'll install the tub dampening straps onto the tub cover, place them all in position, and then install the 4 screws with the 5/16 heads. So our next step is to put the agitator drive block back in position. I just splined on the inside to mate up with the agitator shaft. So we just slide that down over the shaft, and then we'll take that 7/16 bolt and secure it. Now the agitator has 4 splines inside that will mate up with that drive block. So we line those up. The splines actually line up with the fins on the base of the agitator, so it makes it a little easier to install it. And once we have it positioned, just give it a sharp push to lock it in place. And now we're ready to put the control panel components back on. So we'll take the control panel and the mounting bracket, pivot them back up into position, and just lay the control panel across the tub. We'll feed that air dome tube through that oval opening, and we'll take the end panels. You'll note that there's a couple of hooks on the bottom of them that will mate up with some rectangular holes in the cabinet. We'll set those into position, and the mounting bracket actually sits on top of those. So we'll put those 2 screws in place, and we'll lift the back panel up into position. And we want to make sure that we locate these 3 tabs underneath the control panel mounting bracket, and then insert 1 screw on each side. Now as we tighten these screws, we want to make sure that the back panel lines up with the end caps. They're nice and straight. Next, we'll put the control panel in position, and we'll reinstall the air dome tube onto the pressure switch. Make sure it's fully inserted. Then we're just going to tuck that panel up there out of the way. We're now ready to put the main top on. Now when installing the main top, we need to keep in mind that there is a slot on the side, both sides near the back, that will engage a hook on either side of the top frame. Now we can raise the lid, and we're going to put the lid switch up through the opening, and then with the wires facing forward, we're going to clip that switch and snap it into place. We can lower the lid, then we're going to reinstall that wire retaining clip into the hole in the top frame. We'll push the top panel back into position. We'll next replace the 2 1/4-inch hex head screws that hold that top to the cabinet. Now we'll put the control panel onto the main top. You'll note there are 2 tabs on the bottom of that control panel. It will fit down into appropriate slots, and then it will slide to the left. And then we'll install the 3 screws to secure the back panel to the control panel. We're now ready to put the front panel back on, and we just need to make sure that the 2 slotted openings on the bottom of the front panel sit over top of the 2 mounting tabs that are attached to the base frame. Then as we tilt the front panel forward, we need to make sure that the locating pins line up with the holes in the front panel. And then we'll just snap that in place and let the 2 spring clips at the top hold it there. We're now ready to reconnect the power and our inlet fill hoses, and our repair is complete. I told you it was an easy job. Thanks for watching, and good luck with your repair.